Nobody is home. I have the kitchen to myself, which could make this not very productive. But anyway. Oh hey, my name is Nadia and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are making one of my absolute favorite foods in the entire world. I think the first time I had it, I fell in love with it, and since my mom has started making it, my mouth literally waters every time I see it on the stove. We are making my version slash my mom's version of Karadjordjeva Šnicla. These are basically kind of like a Cordon Bleu if you've ever had one. It's a piece of meat tenderized with cheese and ham rolled up and fried like a schnitzel. So good, my mouth is watering just thinking about it. So on that note, let's get cooking. All right, so we're gonna get right into it. For the Karadjordjeva Šnicla, I'm going to be using chicken breast. Now, this might be a slight red flag for anybody who knows that Karadjordjeva Šnicla is typically made using pork. However, I find it a little bit tastier with the chicken breast, so that's what we have today. It's skinless, boneless, it's been rinsed, and it's sitting in this lovely strainer ready to be sliced in half. So we're essentially gonna be opening the chicken breast so we have this really big piece of meat. I'm very terrified because I suck at cutting meat, and cutting chicken is always just it's a little weird. This is our chicken breast. We're gonna be cutting it this way so that it's gonna be opened up and hopefully look something like this. If you couldn't tell, my mom did this one, which is why it looks pristine. So that's the goal. Here goes nothing. This is like the sharpest knife we own as well. I don't know. I feel like I'm just gonna do this a few times. That's what people tend to do. And I guess kind of like we did in the turkey deboning video, you're just doing like really small slices. You don't have to go and kind of cut through the whole thing all at once, especially if you don't really know what you're doing, like me. I'm gonna be taking my time with this because I made Karadjordjeva Šnicla for the first time probably a month or two ago, and I was like, I got this. I'm just gonna slice right through this chicken breast. Needless to say, didn't go very well. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and give myself, I thought I was gonna give myself a gold star, but I didn't. I made it too thin, which caused this like separation here. We don't want that. We wanna try and keep both sides the same thickness. So we're gonna try again. I think there's a total of 8 chicken breasts in here, so hopefully one of them turns out somewhat okay. So the reason I'm cutting these chicken breasts in half is so that it's a little easier to tenderize them. It's hard to pound out a full chicken breast and have it all be the same thickness. So cutting it in half gives us a bigger piece of meat, and it also makes it easier to tenderize. Or at least that's what I was told. I have a feeling that with my skill set, being able to just tenderize this piece of chicken probably would have gone a little bit better. Oh, see, I messed up again. Okay, but this is the chicken's fault because it was like that to begin with. Okay, second one, not as bad. Definitely better. That one kind of looks like a heart if you tilt your head a little bit. I did it, guys. It only took me like 5 tries, but that one's pretty good. I'm not gonna, if my hands weren't full of chicken, I would pat myself on the back. I think the best part about this is that if you do mess up and you have a piece that like falls off or whatever, you can still tenderize it and bread it and fry it. And instead of making a Karadjordjeva Šnicla, you can just make a regular Šnicla. I wanted to change the camera angle while I was filming this, but it's just very messy. So this is the angle you get. I hope you enjoy. We have our chicken breasts. Ooh, that made a weird sound. Okay, I didn't think this through. I'm gonna move them back to the cutting board. I'm gonna season the chicken breast now with just some salt and pepper. And please be mindful of how much seasoning you add, because we are going to be breading these with breadcrumbs and Panko crumbs, which you can buy pre-seasoned. And they have salt and a bunch of other flavors going on in them. So if you salt them here and then there's salt over there and you do too much, it's just gonna be a salty mess. And plus, on top of all of that, actually, we're filling them with cheese as well. So know your limit and play within it. All right, now we tenderize. Just kidding. First we clean, because if you don't clean as you go, your kitchen ends up being a mess. A clean kitchen is a happy kitchen. I've changed my camera angle ever so slightly, and that's because now we're gonna be tenderizing the meat. And if your counter is like mine and you have a seam, you wanna avoid it. I don't know what actually happens when you tenderize meat on a counter seam, if the counter just like breaks in half and you have this huge hole in your kitchen, or if it can like chip a little easier. But nonetheless, we are working on this side that has no seams. And we're gonna build our base, which is gonna start with these trivets. These are just like cork things that you would put under a hot plate before putting it on a table or something. Try and get them level. And then we're gonna be using this thing, which we use to dry our dishes. We like put it on the counter, the wet dish is on, it dries it. I'm trying to figure out what the actual word for it is. Anyway, some sort of a thicker dishcloth, just like that. And then, and only then, can you put your cutting board on. Now, we're not gonna be tenderizing our meat directly on the cutting board. You guys thought I was gonna be stopping at 3 layers. Oh no, no, no. There is another crucial step before we get to actually tenderizing the meat. And that is a plastic bag. What a lot of people do is they will put their whatever meat they're tenderizing in the bag. My mom has decided to take this hack one step further and cut the bag kind of in half, just like opening it up on the seam a little bit, on both seams, I guess. And that way you can easily open it, put your meat in, close it, tenderize, and open. What this does, again, not a clue, but anyway, here we go. Chicken breast, number 1. Another trick when you're tenderizing is to not just go directly down, but you kind of want to go almost like a J motion. So you hit the meat and then you kind of more or less like that. And always feel it out because, I mean, right off the bat, this side is a lot like thinner than this side. So I know I'm gonna, probably shouldn't talk while I hammer, but this side is a lot thinner. So I'm gonna be working on this side to try and match the consistency. And there we have our first tenderized breast. So very simply just open it, peel it off. That's looking pretty good. And I'm just gonna place it over here while I tenderize the rest of these. I really thought this one was gonna fall apart when I went to go tenderize it because it does kind of have this piece on the side that's really holding on for dear life. But it stayed attached. I'm gonna leave it as is. Only when it becomes a problem am I gonna go ahead and cut it off. You don't even necessarily have to cut the whole thing off, maybe just like a little bit. And you can still use that piece of meat, bread it, fry it, and just have it be a plain schnitzel instead of being part of the whole Karadjordjeva Šnicla. The food will tell you what it wants. And just because I'm curious, this is the sound of pounding meat with trivets, a dishcloth, a cutting board, and a Ziploc bag. This is without the dishcloth. I can definitely feel like the counter, like it's definitely taking a bigger hit without the dishcloth. I'm like almost scared to hit it at like full capacity. And then this, I'm not gonna hit at full capacity, but without anything, just the cutting board. Yeah, that's really loud. So moral of the story, 3 layers is where it's at. Anything less, it's not that it's bad, but I feel like I said, you can really feel the counter taking the impact without the cloth. And then with just the cutting board, it's loud. The counter's probably getting a beating. So we don't want that. Protect your kitchen, protect your ears. I think we're done. Now for the magic. We get to fill the Karadjordjeva Šnicla. And by fill, I really mean we're gonna be layering and then rolling the chicken breast. Now here is where you may find another red flag, and that is because, like I said earlier, the traditional meat that's used for Karadjordjeva Šnicla is pork. We're using chicken, and instead of using kaymak as the filling, we're using Philadelphia herb and garlic cream cheese. Now, say what you will, but do not knock it until you try it, because the herb and garlic just adds this other dimension to the dish that you didn't know you needed it until you have it. We're also going to be using thinly sliced Black Forest ham. You can use whatever ham you prefer. And maybe not my first choice with cheese, but we're going to be using provolone slices. And I personally prefer when a Karadjordjeva Šnicla has like a thick cut of mozzarella in the middle. It just gives it that really nice cheese pull. Provolone, yeah, you kind of get the cheese pull like a little bit. I guess maybe I'll pack it in there and see what happens. So that is what we're doing. And before we get started in this layering and rolling process, we're gonna be touching chicken. And when you touch chicken, you don't want to touch anything else after you've touched the chicken, because then you're just going to cross-contaminate, and that's not fun for everyone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pre-portion everything. So I'm going to lay out 10 slices of ham. I think I'm going to go with 20 slices of cheese. just because I want it to be extra cheesy. And I'm gonna be using this fun little scoop and portion out 10 or so scoops of herb and garlic cream cheese. You can use a tablespoon if you don't have a little scoop. Anything to just kind of get it pre-portioned so that when you touch the meat and you touch the other stuff, those ingredients aren't going back into the container or the packaging or whatever it came in. They're being used, you're not wasting, you're not cross-contaminating. How many times will I say cross-contaminating in this little spiel? I don't know, but I'm gonna portion these so we don't cross-contaminate. There you go, for whoever's keeping count, you're welcome. In terms of assembling this schnitzel, you're gonna wanna work in layers. So the first layer is the herb and garlic cream cheese, followed by 2 slices of ham. I decided to go with 2 slices of ham because I like when there's a little bit more filling. And then I basically fit as much cheese as I possibly could onto the chicken breast. For rolling, you can either go lengthwise or widthwise. I find widthwise looks a little funny. You kind of get this short, stubby Karadjordjeva Šnicla. It's still gonna taste really good. It just looks a little weird in my opinion. But when you go lengthwise, you get a really nice long Karadjordjeva Šnicla. And if you go to any restaurant in Serbia or any of the Balkan countries and you get a Karadjordjeva Šnicla, they're gonna be long and thin. Once they're all rolled up, we're gonna go ahead and bread them. So like we did when we made moussaka, we have a little bit of an assembly line. The first step being flour, followed by egg. I just beat 4 eggs in a shallow pan. And then we have a mix of breadcrumbs and panko crumbs. You're gonna take your schnitzel and dip it in the flour and then in the egg. And then when you place it in the breadcrumbs, use your other hand to coat it and make sure the breadcrumbs are really pressed into the chicken. It's okay if you forget what hand is for which. It happens to the best of us. How was I supposed to do this?
Flour.
Yeah.
Egg.
Yeah.
Breadcrumbs.
No, I got that, but what was the what was the hand trick again?
The hand trick is use one hand in the egg and the other one in the breadcrumbs.
Okay, so
wash your hands.
Okay. Once they're all breaded, we can get to frying. So fill a pan up about halfway with oil, have it on a medium-high temperature. You don't want it to be too hot because you don't want the breadcrumbs to burn before the inside gets to bake. You're gonna very carefully take your schnitzel and place it seam down in the pan. This is gonna help prevent it from opening up and then the insides just exploding everywhere. And we're gonna fry it on all 4 sides. And you're gonna look at me and say, but it's a cylinder, how does it have 4 sides? Well, you work with it. You put it on this side, then the other side, and then you flip it on this side, and you flip it on that side. There you go. I'm actually not gonna cook these all the way through. I just kind of wanna brown the outsides, and then I'm gonna transfer them to a separate pan, and then I'm gonna put them in the oven to bake completely. You'll see that once I take them out of the frying pan, the internal temperature is about 80 degrees, and when chicken is completely cooked, it holds a temperature of 165. So of course, if you want, you can fry them until they're completely cooked in the oil. That's how you would cook a regular schnitzel. So in the oven, they go at 400 degrees for 10 to 15 minutes, or like I said, until the internal temperature is 165. These ones are a little bit over, but I'm not worried about the chicken being too dry or overdone because the cream cheese, the provolone, and the ham is really gonna help moisten it up. The cheese kind of oozed out, but that's okay. The schnitzels still have this really beautiful golden brown color, and you'll notice that none of the breadcrumbs are completely burnt. Some are obviously a little bit darker than others, but overall, I'm really happy with how these turned out. And when you cut into the schnitzel, I think that's the best part. It just looks beautiful. It looks so put together, so fancy, and it tastes even better. I'm speechless. It's so yummy. It's not dry at all. I know that the internal temperature was a lot higher than 165, but like I said, the cheese and the ham really help moisten it up nicely. The herb and garlic cream cheese, like I said, it adds another dimension to this dish. I think it tastes so delicious. I think mozzarella was still the way to go because, I mean, you can kind of see the provolone in here, but not really. Usually when we make this and we use mozzarella, we just buy like a brick of mozzarella and then slice it up so you kind of have almost like a cheese string kind of a looking piece inside. And then when you cut into it, you can see it, like the whole center of the schnitzel is just cheese. It's like a bullseye. But this is still really yummy. And it's not too salty. I salted the chicken breasts, plus the cheese is a little salty, plus the cream cheese, plus the panko crumbs, but everything works really well together.
How much should cheese come out?
I mean, a lot of cheese came out. I have a feeling that the reason you can't see the cheese on the inside of the schnitzel is because it all melted out. So I think mozzarella is better. I also want to give myself an honorable mention because when I made these a little while ago, it was a catastrophe. They did not turn out very well. So I'm really glad that I kind of had that trial run because they turned out a lot better this time. Still not perfect, but pretty dang good. So I'm proud of that. I'm going to leave you guys today with our Serbian word of the day, which is TIGANJ. There's a ny at the end. A little difficult, but it means frying pan, and I feel like it played a pretty big role in what we made today. So there you have it. TIGANJ. Did I say it right? Okay. On that note, thank you for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys soon. Bye. TIGANJ. Did I say it?
TIGANJ.
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 Može tava da se kaže.
Kako?
Tava.
Tala.
Tava.
Tava.
Tava, to je već bosanska riječ.
Tava.
Tava.
Tava. Well, there you go. Tava TIGANJ. My leggings and my shirt are not the same black, but they're the only options I had. So now you know what I know. Why are you sighing? I'm going to leave you guys. Did I scare you? Sorry. Skinless bonus. I feel like I look very pale. Is it going to focus? Okay, there we go. Record. It is recording. Cheese. When you do it, and we're not just gonna start, and I'm gonna work. I beat. Out of practice. Oh, you can see it. Once they're all rolled up, we're gonna go at. Once they're, I think we're good to scoop. God, I need all my concentration on this. Cannot talk.